Welcome back. If you have just clicked on here intentionally or accidentally because you're looking for funny cat videos on YouTube, it is Jared here with the CEO of Adelaide United, Glenn Elliott. Part 1 you can check out where I asked the hard-hitting questions and I was really nervous, but now we get to your questions on social media.
Now, well, I've got a question for you before we start.
Of course. What
came first, Adelaide Oval and the Big Bash or Cooper Stadium and the Reds?
Cooper Stadium and the Reds came first, and I love them and I'll always stand by them.
So we got you that gig?
You got me that gig, mate. You basically are my father, and I'm fine with that.
Oh dear.
All right, let's go to social media questions on Facebook. Some really good questions, and I think the great thing about the pitch in these videos is the fans have the opportunity to ask their favourite players and also people who represent the club what they want to know. So some fantastic questions. I've just basically looked for the most frequently asked ones. Now, you did answer this in part 1 a little bit. Craig Bodecott said that I understand that marquee players are very costly, and perhaps out of all the club's current capabilities, what methods do you think could be a potential way to get a marquee player? And following up from that, Spiro, I'm not going to say his surname because I can't pronounce it, in regards to retaining players, Spiro asked, is the release of Anthony Golick, will that give you some freedom to put in a better offer to keep Marcelo Cruzca? Yeah,
look, I think last question first. Marcelo obviously came here, relatively unknown to the fraternity. Now it's had it's probably a bit of a case history with him and Marcos, actually. They came relatively unknown and quickly became fan heroes through their own excellence. Look, we're putting to Marcelo exactly what we can. And at the end of the day, we're hopeful that he's here. We'll find out shortly. So that answer will be... Now, marquees, that's an interesting one. I mean, it is within the capacity of all clubs to have a marquee. I hope the fans understand that there's Australian marquees, overseas marquees, they all sit outside the salary cap. So whilst we get this much vaunted salary cap of 2.5, probably most clubs are 3.5 and up to about 7 in terms of what they're actually playing. I think the FFA have got a big role to play. There's lots of suggestions around that maybe the FFA should have a standard allowance for all clubs, and it's up for us to. But it's got to be I hate the term, but a fair income marquee. I mean, you can get around your salary cap by paying a marquee payment, and the club doesn't need an FFA subsidy. But really, if we're going to get marquees to bring people in the gate, and the obvious one's Del Piero, he's done a wonderful job for the A-League. But likewise, you can go through a few of the others who probably haven't brought too many people through the turnstiles at all. So I think it's in the eyes of the club, the value of the club. The A-League has to be a fiercely competitive 10-team competition because that's what the broadcasters want.
Looking forward to the answer of this question, because when we heard that Giuseppe was coming to Adelaide United, his background and also the players that he is known through Barcelona, an example of Iniesta, who took my spot on the pitch the other week. So if you're watching Iniesta, that's also the last time. Simon wanted to know, have you considered hosting a European club at Adelaide Oval for an exhibition match?
Definitely. I mean, you're not going to flag those things in the public arena. We went well down the track with a very big club last year and didn't fit their program in the finish. It's an ongoing, I think I'd hope that the FFA, even with their All-Stars game, doesn't just continually focus on Sydney. You know, we have a wonderful stadium here now where the government's invested their $540 million. Not too much of it fell off the tree down here, but it'd be nice if we had a bit of shade on the eastern side for all our fans who sit out there. But look, it's an ongoing thing. Can you match the attraction of Melbourne and Sydney? That's a question mark. But certainly we're in the ballpark. We've spoken to both sides of government about whether they would support that, and of course they both do. But there's no commitment, of course, until you actually... But yes, it'd be a wonderful thing for the fans here in Adelaide. Okay, a couple more, and one of them was from Chris, and I guess Chris Groom's question has almost been answered, because his question was, why are we missing out on these international players coming back on loan for game time from Asia and Europe? Now, I guess this was asked before that we announced Moroni, who's back now. My question, I guess, with Chris's is, when we have players like Daniel Mullen, who's previously played for the club, Moroni, Ognanovsky, do they go
their ideal situation, firstly, is of course getting money because they need to, but how good the culture is at this club, they always keep a soft spot for Adelaide to come back to.
Yeah, look, I think, and coming back to the fans again, I mean, Travis Dodd, for instance, had a sort of a much faded exit from the club, but look how well he was received when he came back here from Perth. If I look at the way the Adelaide fans have adopted marquees when they've come to Adelaide, they've been simply outstanding. Players returning overseas, sometimes you're lucky and unlucky with timing. For instance, it's probably going to take a couple of years to transition your list from a whole list of contracted players to the style of list that Giuseppe would like. Look, you can't get everybody, is the answer. We spend the maximum of the salary cap because that's our commitment to the fans, to try and put the best side we can on the pitch. Would you like every former Adelaide player who becomes available to come and spend time? Of course you would, but sometimes it's the right player at the wrong time. It might be a particular position which just brings a glut of that. It's really up to the football director but every player who comes back, of course we have an interest.
My question to finish up with you is in relation to players also returning, and I guess it's an on-field and off-field question. We have players who are making a return, whether it is on loan or coming here permanently, and that's like Nathan Burns, who was on loan at Newcastle, and Tommy Rogic, who's now at Melbourne Victory, and Moroney coming back. Now, these players have been recruited from clubs, I guess, in leagues which are at a higher standard than the A-League, some would say, but then soon enough, they're on loan pretty much immediately. Is that an indication that as a football league, we're not at that level yet, but the fact that these players are getting recognised is an indication that every year the A-League progresses, all of the clubs are becoming more professional, all of the league in itself is getting more professional, and also exposure is getting bigger around the world. So as a league, we're getting bigger.
Look, it's a globalised world. The world's become a smaller place. Australia's made the World Cup again. We've got the Asian Cup here in 2015, a lot of momentum there. The growth in China is massive. It is absolutely massive. And some of the players have gone to China, have probably found that they haven't gone to the club structures that they were accustomed to. You might be a single owner wandering onto the bench and saying, well, I like you today, I don't like you tomorrow. It's fiercely competitive. Nobody can begrudge a player looking to secure his future, because some of the offers for the players are just fantastic. But you've got to maintain your integrity as a club. With our sponsors, with our fans, with our players, I think that, realistically, when you mention players returning, I don't think there's a player you'd like. From a club's perspective, we'd always hope that every player who played here could part on good terms with the club. Doesn't actually mean he'll part on good terms with the coach, because that's just the way it goes. But I think that as long as any player, and I hark back to this transfer window and how awkward it is. How well did Ian Ramsey handle his exit from the club last year? Simply outstanding. People will say, oh, it can't happen that way. My argument is it can and does. And I think players have got to maintain their integrity. We've just got to maintain our reputation as a club and be steady and steadfast, deliver what we promise. And so if it comes that a player moves on because there's a better opportunity in another club, then that may be because coaching philosophies. But if he can leave the club on good terms so that he's always welcome back here, I think we've done our job.
Just finally, I did have a tweet from @JakeBD, which is Jake Barkadash, and he asked who your favourite player at Adelaide United is, and is it Jake Barkadash?
I haven't seen a lot of Jake lately, so
I haven't seen a lot of him either.
I'm looking forward to his skills, and then I'll make a more measured judgment.
He's been focusing too much on his off-field skills and still bombing out there. Glenn, thank you very much for giving us some time here. We've made it into 2 parts, but I think this is something we need to do regularly, because it's great to get an insight from my perspective, and also the fans who are consistently asking questions and you give honest answers.
Look, I think it's important that you've been a breath of fresh air to the club. Sorry, I don't want you to get a big head on your own show, but it has been terrific. And to the fans out there, feel free. We're only here, we're representative of the club. I mean, I quite often say it's the city of Adelaide that owns this footy club. We're all very grateful for shareholders, because that's the reason the club exists. But if you want to be brutal, it's really the fans.
All right, now
am I up with this infamous hug? Am I?
Whoa, yeah.
Just a nice one.
No, you got to do a real hug, mate, because we can't turn off the video. I think there's something over there. What is it? Yeah! Thanks for watching, everybody. Share this on Twitter and Facebook. A big week for Adelaide United. We're playing Sydney FC. Don't forget the Valentine's Day match here against Central Coast, and then we've got the big Supporters Day as well. So a big couple of weeks. Stay involved with Twitter. Check Facebook. Check the website. I just hugged the CEO, and you did it. See ya.